Begin layering sand between layers of marbled clay. Roll this through the largest setting on your pasta machine. Once rolled, you can start to split the clay into layers, and you'll see the texture that the sand left inside. Position your stones in the dish you intend on using with some liquid clay, and bake. Once cooled, you can begin to layer your first layer of resin and stones. Create several types of fish varying in size, shape, and color. Add texture with ball and needle tools. For these ponds, you're only going to see the fish from the top down, so I made sure that I positioned the fins and the tail in a way that made it look as if they were floating on top of the water. On the unbaked fish, you can use your fingertip to dab on some Pearl-X pigment, which will just enhance the scales and the detail on the fins. Once baked, you can add more Pearl-X pigment by mixing it with some Sculpey glaze. You can also use water and chalk pastels to give more fine line details. This is just a combination of glossy glaze and Pearl-X pigment. To create the illusion that the fish is coming up out of the water, I actually placed him in first on the lowest level of resin. I also add these PVC earring backs to the inside of the uncured resin. You can place the top end of the fish on this as a base for his head, and it will actually cure invisible inside of the resin, so you won't see it. On each level of resin, just as it's beginning to cure, you want to add your moss or any extra stones or fish. By adding details to every layer of cured resin, you're creating depth inside of your pond. I was very picky on where I placed things. I wanted to make sure that each pond had balance. Add another layer of resin and let it cure completely. For the lily pad, you want to create a variety of green colors mixed with translucent. For the lilies themselves, I just made a simple Skinner blend and used this for the flower petals. Adding lily pads and the lilies themselves actually is the last step. You want to add these to the top layer of resin, just before it cures. If you're going to be using sand in your koi ponds, you want to do this at just the right time. Let your resin cure until it's the consistency of toothpaste, and then you can add your sand and mix it in with a toothpick. By doing this, you give the sand and the resin mixture a little bit more body. If the resin is too smooth, the sand actually wants to spill and run all over the place. I had intended on making all of the items in these koi ponds, but when I saw these at the store I couldn't resist. And unlike polymer, these will actually cure inside the resin and remain pliable on the tops. To begin the waterfall, I created a basin on the inside of the moss ball. I added several layers of resin and let it cure within the basin. I added some Scotch tape to the waterfall area of the flowing water. And every single layer that I let cure on that tape started to thicken up a little bit and actually began to look like flowing water. I'm painting green just some small pieces of metal that I'd stuck in the resin and let it cure, and what I'm doing now is just painting them green, and they're going to be the stems for the lilies that stick up and out of the water. This yellowfish here is intended to pop out of the water, so I added another PVC earring back. And then I added another layer of resin. The top layer of resin I've let cure for about 2 hours to where it's a very thick consistency. This is when I add my water lilies, and then I can go in with the ball tool and start to create the waves in the water where there would be a ripple effect. I did this at the base of the waterfalls and anywhere where there would be life inside of the pond.